The whistle blew, and the crowd roared. But Ethan Carter's world went silent. He stood frozen on the field, the soccer ball at his feet, as jeers from the stands sliced through him like knives. "Faggot!" they shouted, and he wondered if coming out had been the worst mistake of his life. Ethan had been a star once. At 22, he was the golden boy of Crestwood College's soccer team in small-town Ohio. A striker with a knack for impossible goals. Scouts whispered about pro contracts. His name was etched on trophies. But 6 months ago, he'd told the truth was gay and the world he'd built crumbled. His teammates, once brothers, turned cold. His coach benched him, muttering about distractions. The fans, his fuel, became his tormentors. Ethan hadn't scored a goal since. Each game, his legs felt heavier, his shots weaker, as if his fire had been snuffed out. He didn't know it yet, but salvation was waiting in a place he'd never expected. A scrappy, underfunded gay soccer team called the Firebirds, playing in a forgotten league on the outskirts of Columbus. They were misfits, outcasts, and proud, and they'd show Ethan what it meant to fight for something bigger than a scoreboard. That night, Ethan sat alone in his dorm, the glow of his phone illuminating his face. His Instagram was a graveyard of old game photos, now flooded with hate comments. "You don't belong here. Stick to figure skating." He scrolled past a message from his mom. "I am proud of you, honey," but even her love couldn't fill the void. Soccer had been his identity, his escape from a childhood of hiding who he was. Now, it was a prison. His roommate, Jake, burst in, tossing a flyer onto Ethan's bed. "Dude, you gotta check this out." Some guy at the rec center was handing these out. Ethan glanced at the crumpled paper. "Firebird Soccer, join the revolution. All are welcome." The logo was a phoenix, wings ablaze, rising from a soccer ball. Below it, an address for tryouts at a community field in Columbus. "It's a gay team," Jake said, shrugging. "Might be your thing." Ethan scoffed. A gay team. Sounds like a gimmick. He'd heard of these leagues, small, underfunded, more about politics than play. He was a serious athlete, not some activist looking for a photo op. But Jake raised an eyebrow. "You haven't played a full game in months. What's left to lose?" The question stung. Ethan stared at the flyer, the phoenix staring back. He thought of the empty stands he'd face tomorrow, the teammates who no longer passed him the ball. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe he had nothing left to lose. The next day, Ethan drove to Columbus, his old soccer bag rattling in the back seat. The field was a far cry from Crestwood's pristine stadium. Patchy grass, rusted goalposts, and a scoreboard that hadn't worked in years. A small crowd of players warmed up, their laughter carrying across the pitch. They were a mix of ages, body types, and styles: a wiry guy with a rainbow headband, a muscular woman in goalie gloves, a lanky kid juggling a ball with surprising skill. Ethan felt out of place in his Crestwood jersey, like a tourist in someone else's home. A man approached, mid-30s, with a warm smile and a clipboard. "You here for tryouts?" "I'm Marcus, coach of the Firebirds." His voice was steady, but his eyes scanned Ethan with a knowing intensity, as if he could see the weight Ethan carried. "Name?" "Ethan Carter," he mumbled, expecting a blank stare. Instead, Marcus's face lit up. "Carter, The Crestwood striker. Man, I saw your game against Dayton last year. That header was unreal. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. No one had mentioned that goal in months. Yeah. Well, that was before, he said, his voice tight. Marcus nodded. No judgment in his eyes. Before doesn't matter here. Show me what you've got now. He blew his whistle, and tryouts began. Ethan jogged onto the field, his heart pounding not from nerves, but from something he hadn't felt in months, possibility. The drills were brutal, designed to test speed, control, and grit. Ethan's body remembered the motions, but his mind kept tripping over memories of Crestwood's betrayal. He missed an easy pass, then another. Frustration boiled in his chest. These players weren't even Division I, yet they moved with a freedom he'd lost. The wiry guy with the headband, Leo. He learned danced around defenders like they were statues. The goalie, Sam, blocked shots with a ferocity that made Ethan flinch. They played like they had nothing to prove, only joy to share. During a scrimmage, Ethan got the ball. He dribbled, faked left, and took a shot. It sailed wide, thudding against the fence. The Firebirds didn't jeer or sigh. They clapped. Next one's yours. Man, Leo called, tossing the ball back. Ethan stared, confused. At Crestwood. A miss like that would have earned him glares. Here. It was just a moment. By the end of tryouts, Ethan was drenched in sweat, his legs burning but his chest lighter. Marcus pulled him aside. You've got talent, Ethan, but you're holding back. Something's got you locked up. Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but Marcus raised a hand. I don't need the story. Just know this, the Firebirds aren't just a team. We're a family. You in? Ethan hesitated. He wasn't sure he belonged here, with these strangers who played for love, not glory. But the alternative was another game at Crestwood, another round of slurs and silence. He nodded. I'm in. That night, he lay in bed, the Phoenix Flyer taped to his wall. For the first time in months, he didn't dream of missed shots or hateful crowds. He dreamed of a field where he could run free. The Firebirds' first practice was chaos wrapped in camaraderie. Ethan arrived early. The Columbus field bathed in morning mist. His new teammates trickled in, joking and tossing water bottles, their ease making him feel like an outsider again. He tightened his laces, trying to focus. This wasn't Crestwood. No one here knew the Ethan who'd been a starer, the one who'd fallen. Marcus split them into drills, pairing Ethan with Leo, the rainbow headband guy. Leo was all energy, his dreadlocks bouncing as he darted through cones. Yo, Crestwood, keep up, he teased, passing the ball with a flick of his foot. Ethan gritted his teeth, chasing the ball. Leo was fast, annoyingly so, but his grin was infectious. For a moment, Ethan forgot the weight on his shoulders. Between drills, Leo flopped onto the grass, offering Ethan a water bottle. So, what's your deal? You look like you're running from something, not toward it. Ethan froze, the question too close to the truth. He muttered something about a bad season, but Leo's eyes narrowed. Bad season? Or bad people? Ethan didn't answer, but Leo didn't push. Instead, he pointed to the team. See them. Everyone's got a story. Sam got kicked out of her house at 16. Marcus lost his job for being out. Me. I just like pissing off bigots with my footwork. He winked. And Ethan couldn't help but smile. The practice ended with a scrimmage. Ethan played striker. His old position. But every shot felt forced. His aim off. The ball hit the crossbar. Then the post. Frustration clawed at him. Shake it off? Ethan. Sam shouted from the goal. Her voice sharp but kind. He tried again. But the ball went wide. The old panic crept in, the fear that he'd lost his edge forever. After practice, Marcus called Ethan over. You're thinking too much. It's not about the goal. It's about why you're here. Ethan wanted to argue. To say he was here to play. Not to philosophize. But Marcus's gaze was steady. Unyielding. Figure out your why. Ethan. The goals will come. That weekend, the Firebirds had their first game of the season. A friendly against a local rec team. The stands held maybe 50 people, friends. Partners. A few curious locals. No scouts. No pressure. Just a game. Ethan started on the bench, watching his new team take the field. The Firebirds were sloppy but fierce. Their passes messy, but their spirit unbreakable. Leo scored in the first 10 minutes, celebrating with a backflip that drew cheers. Sam dove for a save, her gloves smacking the ball away like it had personally offended her. When Marcus subbed Ethan in, the field felt different. Smaller, rougher, but alive in a way Crestwood's stadium never was. He got the ball, dribbled past a defender, and took a shot. It missed, but the Firebirds cheered anyway. Keep going. Carter. Leo yelled. Ethan's chest tightened, not with shame, but with something warmer. He ran harder, fought for every ball. By the end, he hadn't scored, but he'd set up a goal for Leo. Their first real connection on the field. In the locker room, the team was electric, high-fiving and recounting plays. Sam slung an arm around Ethan's shoulders. Not bad for a newbie. You'll get there. Ethan nodded, unsure what there even meant anymore. But for the first time in months, he felt like he was part of something. Back at Crestwood, things got worse. Monday's practice was a gauntlet of glares and whispers. His teammate Derek, once a friend, accidentally tripped him during a drill. The coach didn't call it, just barked at Ethan to toughen up. By the time practice ended, Ethan's shins were bruised, his pride worse. He drove back to Columbus that night, the Firebirds field calling him like a beacon. The next Firebirds practice was different. Ethan arrived to find the team decorating the field with pride flags for an upcoming charity match. Leo handed him a rainbow armband. Wear it or don't. Your call, he said, no pressure in his tone. Ethan slipped it on, the colors bright against his skin. It felt like a small rebellion, a quiet fuck you to Crestwood. During a break, Sam sat next to him, wiping sweat from her brow. You ever feel like you're living two lives? She asked. Ethan nodded, thinking of the mask he wore at Crestwood. Yeah. One where I'm me, and one where I'm whoever they want. Sam snorted. Screw that. You're Ethan freaking Carter. Be you. And let them choke on it. Her words stuck with him. That night, he scored his first goal in a Firebird scrimmage, a clean, curling shot into the top corner. The team erupted, piling onto him in a laughing heap. For a moment, Ethan felt like his old self, the kid who lived for the roar of the crowd. But this crowd was different. They didn't care who he loved. They cared that he showed up. Weeks passed, and Ethan settled into a rhythm with the Firebirds. Practices were grueling but joyful, each one chipping away at the wall he'd built around himself. He started to know his teammates' quirks, Leo's endless banter, Sam's fierce loyalty, Marcus's quiet wisdom. They weren't just a team. They were a refuge. But Crestwood was still a battlefield. Every practice there felt like walking into a lion's den, the hostility growing sharper. Derek and a few others had taken to leaving anonymous notes in Ethan's locker. "Quit before you embarrass us." One evening, after a particularly brutal Crestwood practice, Ethan drove to Columbus early. He found Leo alone on the Firebirds field, juggling a ball under the floodlights. "Couldn't sleep?" Leo asked, not looking up. Ethan shrugged, dropping his bag. "Something like that." They passed the ball in silence, the rhythm soothing. Finally, Leo spoke. "You don't talk much about Crestwood." "Bad vibes." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You could say that." Leo stopped the ball, his eyes serious. "You don't have to stay there. You know, you're good enough for bigger things." Ethan wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at him. He wasn't the star anymore. He was the guy who choked under pressure, who hadn't scored in months. "I don't know if I've got it anymore," he admitted. Leo kicked the ball to him. "Hard." "Bullshit. You've got fire. You just forgot where to look for it." The Firebirds' next game was the charity match, a fundraiser for a local LGBTQ youth shelter. The field was packed, rainbow flags waving in the stands. Ethan felt a nervous thrill as he warmed up. This wasn't just a game. It was a statement. The opposing team, a local club, was bigger, stronger, and not thrilled about the event's optics. Ethan overheard one of their players mutter, "This is a circus, not soccer." The game was physical from the start. Ethan took an elbow to the ribs, then a slide tackle that left his shin bleeding. But the Firebirds fought back. Sam blocked a penalty with a dive that shook the ground. Leo weaved through defenders, setting up a goal for a teammate named Jamie. Ethan ran harder than he had in months, his lungs burning but his heart alive. In the final minutes, he got a breakaway. The goal was open, the keeper out of position. He shot and the ball hit the post. The crowd groaned, but the Firebirds didn't. "Head up, Ethan," Marcus shouted from the sideline. Ethan nodded, sprinting back into position. The game ended in a 2-2 draw, but the Firebirds celebrated like they'd won. They'd raised thousands for the shelter, and Ethan felt a pride he hadn't known in years. After the game, a kid from the shelter approached him, clutching a Firebird sticker. "You're awesome," the kid said, eyes wide. "I want to play like you someday." Ethan's throat tightened. He knelt, signing the kid's sticker. "You will," he said. "Just keep playing." For the first time, he saw himself not as a failure, but as someone who could inspire. Back at Crestwood, the season was spiraling. The team was losing, and Ethan was the scapegoat. At a team meeting, Derek stood up, pointing at him. "We're losing because of him. He's a distraction." The room went quiet, the coach saying nothing. Ethan's hands shook. But he stood. I'm here to play. Same as you. If you've got a problem, that's on you. It was the first time he'd spoken back, and it felt like breaking a chain. That night, he called his mom, spilling everything they hate. The Firebirds. The kid at the charity match. She listened. Her voice steady. You're finding your way. Ethan. Don't let them take that from you. He hung up, tears in his eyes, but stronger than he'd been in months. Ethan's double life was wearing him thin. Crestwood drained him every practice, a reminder of his isolation. The Firebirds, though, were a lifeline. He started spending more time in Columbus, crashing on Leo's couch after late practices. Leo's apartment was a cluttered mess of soccer gear and pride flags, but it felt like home in a way Ethan's dorm never did. Over cheap pizza one night, Leo asked, "You ever think about quitting Crestwood?" Ethan paused, the question hitting harder than he expected. It's all I've known, he said, and I'm not a quitter. Leo nodded, but his eyes said he understood more than Ethan was ready to admit. The Firebirds' next game was against a rival gay team from Cleveland, the Vanguards. The stakes were low, another friendly, but the energy was electric. The Vanguards were polished, their passes crisp, their defense tight. Ethan started as striker, determined to prove himself. He played with a ferocity he hadn't felt since his Crestwood glory days, stealing balls and setting up plays. In the second half, he got a pass from Leo, faked out a defender, and shot. The ball soared, curling toward the goal, and the keeper caught it. Ethan cursed under his breath, but the Firebirds rallied around him. You're close, man, Jamie called. The game ended 1-0 for the Vanguards, but Ethan didn't feel defeated. He'd played with heart, and his team saw it. Marcus pulled him aside after. You're starting to trust yourself again. Keep going. Ethan nodded, a flicker of his old confidence stirring. Back at Crestwood, the season was nearing its end, and tensions were boiling. During a game against a rival college, Ethan subbed in for the final 10 minutes. The crowd was merciless, their slurs louder than ever. He got the ball, sprinted toward the goal, and took a shot. It went wide, and the jeers erupted. Derek shoved past him, muttering, "Nice one, princess." Ethan snapped, shoving back. The ref blew the whistle, and both were benched. In the locker room, the coach tore into Ethan. You're done here if you can't keep it together. That night, Ethan drove to Columbus, his hands shaking on the wheel. He found Sam at the field, practicing late. She didn't ask questions, just tossed him a ball. They kicked it back and forth, the silence healing. Finally, she spoke. You don't owe Crestwood anything. You're bigger than their bullshit. Ethan didn't respond, but her words sank in. He was starting to see it. His worth wasn't tied to a team that hated him. The Firebirds' next practice was a turning point. Marcus introduced a new drill, one that forced players to rely on each other's instincts. Ethan was paired with Leo and Jamie, and they moved like a single unit, passing without looking, trusting each other's positioning. For the first time, Ethan felt in sync, not just with the game, but with his team. He scored twice in a scrimmage, each goal a release of months of pent-up pain. After practice, Leo dragged Ethan to a team bonfire at Marcus's house. The backyard was strung with fairy lights, the air filled with laughter and music. Ethan sat quietly, watching his teammates dance and share stories. Sam told of her first love, a girl who broke her heart but taught her courage. Jamie, non-binary and soft-spoken, shared how soccer gave them a place to belong. Ethan stayed silent, but their openness cracked something in him. He wasn't alone in his struggles. As the fire died down, Marcus raised a beer. To the Firebird, because we rise. No matter what. Ethan raised his bottle, his throat tight. For the first time, he felt like he belonged somewhere. Ethan's breaking point came at Crestwood's final home game. The stands were packed, the air thick with tension. He started on the bench, as usual, watching his team struggle. When the coach finally subbed him in, the crowd's boos were deafening. Ethan ignored them, focusing on the ball. He got a pass, dribbled past two defenders, and shot. The ball grazed the post, missing by inches. The jeers grew louder. Derek jogged by, sneering. Go play with your rainbow friends. Something in Ethan snapped. He wasn't just tired of the hate, he was done letting it define him. After the game, he walked into the coach's office and quit. I'm better than this, he said, his voice steady. The coach didn't argue, just nodded. Ethan left the locker room, his Crestwood jersey in the trash. He drove straight to Columbus, the weight lifting with every mile. At the Firebirds field, he found Marcus running drills with a few players. I'm done with Crestwood, Ethan said, his voice raw. Marcus didn't look surprised. Good. Now you can really play. He tossed Ethan a Firebirds jersey, the Phoenix logo bright against the black fabric. Ethan pulled it on, feeling like he'd shed a skin. The Firebirds' next game was a regional tournament, their first big test. The opponent was a semi-pro team, all muscle and precision. Ethan started as striker, his nerves buzzing but his focus sharp. The game was brutal, hard tackles, close calls, no room for error. The Firebirds were down 1-0 at halftime, but Marcus's pep talk was fire. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove yourselves right. In the second half, Ethan came alive. He stole a ball, sprinted down the field, and passed to Leo, who scored. The crowd, small but passionate, roared. With minutes left, Ethan got another chance. He faked left, cut right, and shot. The ball sailed into the net, clean and true. The Firebirds piled onto him, screaming. Ethan's heart pounded, not just from the goal, but from the realization he was back. The game ended in a 2-1 win, the Firebirds' first tournament victory. Ethan was named player of the match, a small trophy in his hands. But the real prize was the team around him, their arms slung over his shoulders, their pride in him undeniable. That night, Ethan joined the team at a local bar, a queer-friendly spot with rainbow flags and cheap beer. Leo raised a glass to Ethan, who finally remembered how to score. The team laughed, clinking glasses. Ethan grinned, the warmth of their acceptance sinking in. He caught Sam's eye across the table, and she nodded, as if to say, "You're one of us now." Later, Leo pulled Ethan aside. "You're different out there now. What changed?" Ethan thought for a moment. "I stopped playing for them. I'm playing for me." Leo clapped his shoulder. "That's the fire. Man, don't lose it." The tournament win put the Firebirds on the map. Local blogs picked up the story, calling them the underdog team with heart. Ethan's goal was replayed online, his name tied to something positive for the first time in months. But fame brought scrutiny. A sports reporter from Columbus reached out, wanting an interview about Ethan's journey from Crestwood to the Firebirds. He hesitated, fearing the spotlight would reopen old wounds. Marcus encouraged him. "Tell your story, Ethan. It's yours to own." The interview took place at the Firebirds field. The reporter, a kind woman named Claire. Ethan spoke haltingly at first, recounting the hate at Crestwood, the loneliness, the Firebirds' acceptance. "They didn't just give me a team," he said. "They gave me a reason to keep going." Claire's article went viral, shared across queer sports communities. Messages poured in from kids, athletes, and parents, thanking Ethan for his honesty. He read them late at night, tears in his eyes, realizing his story mattered. But not everyone was inspired. A group of Crestwood alumni started a smear campaign online, calling Ethan a traitor and the Firebirds a joke team. The comments stung, but Ethan didn't hide. He posted a photo of himself in his Firebirds jersey. The caption simple, "This is where I belong." The Firebirds rallied around him, flooding the post with support. Leo commented, "Burn brighter, brother." Sam added, "They're just mad you're free." The team's next game was a semi-final in the tournament, against a team known for dirty play. Ethan felt the pressure, not just to win, but to prove the Firebirds were more than a feel-good story. The game was a grinder, both teams scoreless at halftime. Ethan took hit after hit, his body bruised, but his resolve ironclad. In the final minutes, he got a pass from Jamie, dodged a tackle, and shot. The ball hit the net, and the crowd exploded. The Firebirds won 1-0, advancing to the finals. After the game, Ethan's phone buzzed with a text from his mom. "I'm coming to the final. So proud of you." He smiled, feeling a piece of his old life stitched back into place. The night before the final, the Firebirds gathered at Marcus's house. The mood was electric, but heavy. They were one game away from a championship no one thought they'd reach. Marcus stood, his voice low but powerful. "This isn't about winning a trophy. It's about showing the world who we are. You've all fought to be here. Play like it." Ethan looked around at his teammates, their faces lit by determination. He realized he wasn't just playing for himself anymore, he was playing for them. The championship game was chaos. The Firebirds faced the Hawks, a team of ex-college players with a reputation for ruthlessness. The Columbus field was packed, rainbow flags mixing with local fans. Ethan's mom sat in the stands, her face beaming with pride. Ethan felt her presence like a shield, grounding him as he took the field. The Hawks struck first, scoring in the opening minutes. The Firebirds fought back, but the Hawks' defense was a wall. Ethan missed 2 shots, each one tightening the knot in his chest. At halftime, they were down 2-0. Marcus gathered the team, his voice calm but fierce. "They want you to break. Don't. Play for each other." Ethan looked at Leo, Sam, Jamie, and the others, their eyes reflecting his own resolve. He nodded. They weren't done. In the second half, the Firebirds came alive. Leo scored off a corner kick, narrowing the gap. Ethan ran harder, his body screaming but his mind clear. With 10 minutes left, he got a pass from Sam, sprinted past a defender, and shot. The ball curved, kissing the inside of the net. The crowd roared, and Ethan pumped his fist, the fire in him blazing. The game went to penalties. Ethan was the Firebirds' final shooter. The score was tied, the stadium holding its breath. He stepped to the spot, the keeper staring him down. He thought of Crestwood, the hate, the nights he'd doubted himself. Then he thought of the Firebirds, their laughter, their belief in him. He kicked. The ball flew past the keeper's hands, into the net. The Firebirds won. The team rushed him, a tangle of hugs and screams. Ethan's mom ran onto the field, wrapping him in her arms. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan laughed, tears streaming. "We did it." After the game, the Firebirds celebrated at the bar, the trophy on the table like a beacon. Ethan felt lighter than he ever had, the weight of Crestwood gone. He realized something else, too a quiet attraction to Leo, who'd been his anchor through it all. As the night wound down, he pulled Leo aside. "Thanks for believing in me," he said, his voice soft. Leo grinned, his eyes warm. "Always. Carter. You're stuck with me now." They didn't kiss. Not yet. But the air between them crackled with possibility. Months later, Ethan was a different man. The Firebirds championship had changed everything, not just for him, but for the team. They were invited to national tournaments, their story inspiring others to start inclusive leagues. Ethan became a reluctant spokesperson, his face on posters for queer sports events. He didn't love the attention, but he loved what it stood for. He and Leo grew closer, their friendship blooming into something more. One night, under the Columbus stars, Leo took Ethan's hand. "You ever think we'd end up here?" he asked. Ethan laughed. "Not in a million years." They kissed, soft and certain, the field stretching out behind them. It wasn't just lovey, it was a promise to keep fighting. Together. Ethan enrolled in a community college in Columbus, studying sports management. He wanted to build spaces like the Firebirds for others, kids like the one from the charity match, who needed a place to belong. He still played with the Firebirds, now as co-captain with Leo. His goals came easier, each one a reminder of who he'd become. One day, he got a letter from his old Crestwood coach, apologizing for his silence. Ethan read it, then set it aside. He didn't need their approval anymore. He had his team, his family, his fire. The boy who'd lost everything had found something better, a life where he could be himself, unapologetically. As the Firebirds prepared for their next season, Ethan stood on the field, the Phoenix logo on his chest. He thought of the kid he'd been, hiding in plain sight, and the man he was now, free. The whistle blew, and he ran, the ball at his feet, the future wide open.